Ah!
Oh, jeez, Jackson, that's really loud. Look at that spike.
Hello. How's it going? Hey, Lucas.
Hey, I'm here.
We haven't done this in a while.
No, we haven't.
You know why? Like, do you know?
Because spring break was a whole thing.
I mean, we did try to do something.
Yeah, it didn't turn out very well.
Remember we made the podcast. I woke up at 7 in the morning.
Yep.
And I woke up. It was 12 p.m. your time. I got out of bed. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm going to be honest. I like making the podcast. I like speaking into this mic. I like, talking, whatever. And I was like, but I don't, like, I'm on vacation. I don't care to do this. We've only made 3. Nobody knows who we are.
It's true.
But I got up. And I was like, well, I'll do it. We made a promise to review Mowgli. And we were going to do it. And I got up and I sat down. And I got my computer out. And I turned on Audacity. And I called you, and then we started talking. For 30 minutes, we reviewed Mowgli, and I don't remember anything else that we talked about because it was 7 in the morning. And then afterwards, I was like, okay, cool, let me just hit save. And as I pressed the button, a little message popped up. And you know exactly what that message said?
No.
It's prompted me, and it said, oh, by the way, Audacity crashed during recording. And we didn't want to tell you, but there are just missing segments from your 30-minute discussion on Mowgli. And so the podcast is like, there's 23 good minutes of the podcast, of the one that never is going to make it. Like, I'll put it out eventually, but it's like
bloopers for later in
like an anniversary or something, like in our 10th anniversary. 10 episodes, not 10 years. And so we have the podcast. But after 23 minutes, it just starts getting choppy because certain bits just got taken out. So we'll never know what happened to that episode or what we talked about. But you want to just wrap up Mowgli real quick?
It's not good. Don't watch it. It's terrible. Watch, what was it? Oh, yeah, just watch Tarzan instead. It's better.
Yeah, any other
movie, really.
Any other. Moving closer a little bit. Lucas, we've learned from these mistakes. Lucas.
It's true, but I really like leaning back.
Well, then push the chair up. Gosh darn it. Thank you so much. But, yeah, Mowgli is bad. It's a bad movie.
Really
I think that any other movie that centers around the Jungle Book is better. And we talked about this, and I don't want to rehash the same thing, even though they never heard it or you guys never heard it. But, yeah, just watch anything else. I mean, I think now that we've done that, at least we get a sense for what reviewing is like, just for us to talk about it. So I think the next one should be either Theory of Everything or To the Bone. That was the 2 picks. Do you have a preference? You want to watch To the Bone, right?
Eventually, yeah.
Eventually? Does that mean that's not the first one you want to pick out of the 2? Because I can tell you right now, I have a little game to play to decide which one we watch next. Unless you have a contender right now that you want to throw in the ring.
No, I don't have one.
Okay, out of the 2, which would you rather prefer, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay, you want to play a fun game?
Yep, sure.
Okay.
Oh.
Hey Siri.
Okay.
Thank you, Siri. Pick a number.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Pick a number between 1 and 2.
It's 2.
All right, we're watching To the Bone.
I don't know how that's decided.
That's that easy. I mean, I was going to do a coin flip, but I said 1 and 2. So, To the Bone. Let's look up some information about To the Bone. Shall we?
Sure.
Here, I'm going to look this up. To the Bone was a 2017 drama/comedy.
/comedy. That's
It's an hour and 47 minutes, and it stars
Kanye Reeves.
Kanye Reeves. Who's Keanu Reeves.
Sorry. I'm really done.
I didn't know if Keanu Reeves was his brother or Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's Ted from Bill and Ted.
Really?
Did you hear know what Bill and Ted is?
Yes, but did you hear about Bill and Ted 3?
Yes, I did. I don't know how they're going to do that.
That's pretty interesting. I was listening to a podcast, and they were basically saying that Bill and Ted 3 is going to be interesting because it's going to be a different kind of energy. Like, you have your young person energy, and then you have your old guy energy, and they're going to be using that kind of energy, like, when they do this performance, right? So I mean, who knows if it's going to hold up to the other two. But like those kind of movies that are like like if they made another Back to the Future, like they can't because those guys are too old and they have brittle bones. But if they were to make another one of those movies, the energy would just be off. Like it wouldn't be the same kind of deal. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know where I don't even know who played Bill, but I have no idea where he is in life.
Well, I can tell you right now. Let me look it up. Bill and Ted. Not 3, just the first one. Bill and Ted stars Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter.
Yeah.
And Alex Winter is 53 years old, and he did such movies as the Bill and Ted movies, Ben 10 Alien Swarm.
Man, remember that?
He was in the Smosh movie. He did the other Ben 10, which actually means that he is like a prominent figure in Ben 10. So let me look up who he is. He's Nanomech, the character Nanomech.
Whatever, I don't know.
Now I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember.
I don't know what that is.
No, I don't remember. Ben 10 was weird. It was a weird show. It was pretty good. It was a pretty good show. I mean, that's a whole other thing.
They did kind of ruin it with that remake, though.
I mean, like every generation can say this, but honestly, like the cartoons, the children's cartoons that we had in the 2000s were great.
They were great. They were classic.
Like I don't know if you can say that. Well, yeah, I don't know if you can say that about every generation because it's your favorite, like because you grew up in it. But the 2000s had some great shows.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of the cartoons before our generation were pretty good too. Like I feel like I didn't start not liking cartoons until after our whole golden age of cartoons, and then fell apart.
A lot of cartoons were at least that we saw were also from another like generation. Yeah. Like watching Yu-Gi-Oh and like the Sonic cartoon, both of those came from before the 2000s. And here I can just name you some that came out. I'm like SpongeBob technically came out in 1999, but SpongeBob, that's one of the biggest things ever.
It's still running, isn't it?
Yeah. There's still new episodes, even though the guy died, rest in peace. Fairly Odd Parents. Avatar.
Avatar was a good show. I remember that very fondly. I think I watched through it on TV maybe 4 times.
It's a fan favorite, but I don't know if I can say that I absolutely loved it. I like watched it when it was on.
That's really weird to me because I really liked Avatar, and I was really disappointed when I couldn't watch The Legend of Korra because it just didn't line up with my schedule, so I never got to watch it.
And did you know the whole thing about Legend of Korra?
No.
So when Legend of Korra came out, what ended up happening was that Legend of Korra was digital, and like they released it for TV and Nickelodeon.com, and the ratings were so bad on TV that it went all to digital. And then like there was a big hiatus where when they were making the episodes, they just stopped. And nobody really knew why, other than like viewership was down, but they just never released them, even if they had already made them. So then eventually they came back, and I think like eventually all the episodes came out, but I'm pretty sure that show only had 2 seasons. I think.
I don't know about that. I think it had more than 2 seasons, but I do remember something like hearing something about that before, like how it didn't do too well because it was different. I don't know.
You're right. It had 4 seasons, but it only ran from 2012 to 2014. And so that means that the reason it had 4 seasons is because they did it online. They could just do like different blocks of time, like fall lineup and the other lineups.
I don't know. I really don't care about the ratings that much. I still wish I would have watched it.
Yeah.
If someone was like, "Yo, you can just watch it on this website," I'd probably just go do that for a while.
I mean, could you argue that those kind of shows are popular because it's like you have Legend of Avatar, which is a good show, and then like, oh, let's make the demographic girl-based, so they just change the lead to a girl.
Honestly, I don't think that's exactly what they did with this show. Like, that was before that was a popular thing to do. At least from what I remember. I was kind of young when this came out, I think. I don't know.
Well, I don't know anything about Legend of Korra other than the fact that
But-
I've seen some of it.
Yeah,
but-
I've seen like I remember when it first came out, I was really excited, so I watched the first few episodes like religiously. But then like I don't know, I had something like school got too overwhelming, and I just couldn't watch it at the time I wanted to.
Well, that's when you started middle school, right?
I don't know.
Everybody knows how tough middle school can be
Yeah, man.
comparatively to everything else you have before middle school.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like my mom always described it like elementary is learning how to learn, and then in middle school you actually learn stuff, and then in high school it's just awful.
Listen, I don't know what you're talking about. Doing those papers where you trace the letter and then you write the letter. I got D's, dude. And that
You got D.
I couldn't trace a D first of all, and then I got D's on that D.
That's hilarious, but to be fair, I think I had trouble with O, so like
The letter O, just
the
a
letter,
circle.
just a circle. I couldn't do it. I had to take it home for homework.
See, I don't remember a lot of things, but that is one of the things I remember. Like looking at a paper where all you had to do was trace a letter,
Yeah.
and then looking at the top of that paper, and it was like, you got a C. Like we don't even do letter grades, but you got like a 10 out of some like 17.
But you can't even count to 10 yet. So
Yeah.
like I remember actually back in my elementary school, our teacher gave out Pokemon stickers if you did really well, like you got 100%. So like there was a season where I had really good handwriting because I just wanted the Pokemon sticker with all my heart.
Did you collect them?
Yeah.
You still have them?
No. I have no idea.
Are you one of
where they
those? Are you one of those kids that has a, like somewhere in your house, like in a cabinet or in a box or something, like somewhere there is just like a collection of your work, like from your early years?
No, I have some of my work from high school, but I don't think I have anything before that.
See, exact opposite. I don't keep any of my high school stuff because I could care less. But my middle school, not middle school, probably just my elementary, like when I was at my other school, all that stuff is like downstairs in a cabinet. You open that cabinet up and it's just like stocked full of just my stuff, like art projects. And
I mean, it's definitely possible that my parents kept it, but I don't know where it is, and I don't know anything about it, so...
well, I guarantee you that our parents don't go back and look at that stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
It's the hoarders thing.
Yeah.
Because like you collect all that stuff, but I guarantee you, like the only time they'll look at it is when we graduate. Like they'll pull it out and be like, "Hey, look, you were so young."
Look, remember when you couldn't write an O?
Yeah, and then that's it. Like they'll probably, you want this stuff? No, I'm going to college. All right, then we'll throw it away, or we'll keep it, and then you leave, and then you'll never see that stuff again.
It's true.
Anyway, I pulled up Kung Fu Panda: Legends of Awesomeness. You remember this show?
I do?
This was a good show.
I disagree.
Why do you?
I could not get behind it. I couldn't follow.
What was wrong with Kung Fu Panda: Legends of Awesomeness?
It just felt wrong. I
Did it?
remember watching Kung Fu Panda, and I was like, oh, this is a good movie. And then when I watched the show, I was just disappointed.
Well, I feel like that was a trend in the 2000s where
Was adapting
movies to TV shows. Even though this Kung Fu Panda came out in 2011, so I guess it's a 2010s trend that ended early.
Yeah.
Do you realize that next year will be in the 2020s?
No, but I don't want to think about that.
Like this is the last year of the decade 2010s. Like after this, like you can go into a playlist of Spotify and all of the music for the last generation, at the last decade will be there.
I don't like thinking about that at all.
That's how people felt about the 2000s.
Yeah, that's true, but...
Like I've been watching the CNN documentary called The 2000s. It's crazy. Like to think that we got the iPhone in the 2000s and then where we are now. Like technology just like jumped.
Yeah, I mean, it's really weird to think about because, like, if you look at your iPhone and compare it to the first one, like, there's not a lot of resemblance except for button placement, I think.
Well, I would say that this iPhone, the iPhone 10, it's a lot similar to the iPhone than the one you have. Because it seems like the one that you have, like, I like to call them bricks versus kites. Like, the original iPhone was, like, almost, like, completely curved. It's called the 3G, I think. It was almost like a curved phone, and then it was just flat, so it was kind of like you couldn't sit it straight down. It would like wobble. And it was like flat on the top, so you could look at the screen, but it was like smaller, and people just had it, and they could do all the stuff on it, and it was different. It was just a smaller phone, but then as the years went on, the phones got bigger and bigger, and it got flatter and flatter. It's like that phone, the 6S, it's bigger, and it's wider, and it's flatter. But then when they made the 10, they like went back to the original design, because like this is thicker, and this back is glass, which we haven't had since the 4S, but that's because of the wireless charging, and they need a glass back to do that. But yeah, they went back to that, and the phone's smaller. And well, they've made the 10S or whatever it's called. They made that one bigger, but that's just because it was the next generation, because Apple tricks you by doing that sort of thing. And did you hear about, well, I don't know if you heard about this or not, but the Apple, I don't even know if you know what this is, the Apple Air mat, did you know what that is?
No.
Okay, so...
That sounds like a mat that you lay on to do yoga.
Okay, so you know, I have a wireless charging mat.
Yes.
And, like, you just plug it in, you put your phone on, it charges. Great. And they've been doing that, like, more and more phones have been doing that. It's like the next way to charge your phone. So Apple was going to make one of these. And this one is about the size of, like, what would you say this is the size of?
Like a coaster.
Okay, so it's the size of a coaster, and you just, it's big enough to just put your one phone down on, and it's going to charge. And Apple just released the AirPods, the second AirPods, and those have a wireless charging case. So you sit those down, and they charge. And so Apple's big idea was to make this Apple charging mat that was about 4 times the size of this, like if you went this way or long ways, and you could put like your phone, your AirPods, and your watch down, and it would charge all of them at the same time.
It's rather convenient, I'd say.
Well, yeah, but unfortunately, like yesterday, they canceled it. It's like one of the first things that Apple has like straight out told everybody, hey,
Like they're not gonna build anymore. Like it's just
yeah,
done?
like we were developing this and we're canceling it. And they basically said it's because they can't figure out a way to make it cost effective, and manufacturing, they can keep up with themselves. Like they can't release it to the public to make sure everyone gets it and it all works as smoothly as like releasing an iPhone. Which kind of makes me upset, because like if you look at the AirPod 2, their case, if you flip it around, it's telling you all about the AirPods. And on the back of the box, this is like the charging mat is on the back of the box, like a picture of it, like you would be able to use it. So obviously people that are mad at Apple are using it as a tactic to be like, hey, Apple lied to you. But at the same time,
they were pretty open about canceling the whole thing, so I don't know if that's a fair argument.
Yeah, and people that like Apple are like, yeah, but at least now Apple's a little bit more honest with us. They're not just this big company that are, you know, they have their flaws. They've proven that they have flaws, and they're showing them by saying that the mat is canceled. But it's still,
I don't know. I'm still disappointed though. That looks really cool.
Yeah, it would have been really cool. I mean, it would have been like $300, sure, but
I mean, you can't complain. It's cool. It charges all your stuff at the same time.
Yeah, and Apple hasn't even released a charging mat like the standard one, like the small coaster size one.
Yeah, they really need to get on that, to be honest.
Which, I mean, I guess people that like Apple can buy it. Like, it stays in the Apple family. But this charging mat for 3 or 4 different devices that you can put on it would have been probably like $300 if I had to guess. And this, the coaster size, is $20. Like, that isn't Apple branded. I got this for $20 at like Target or something. And I guarantee you, if there was a coaster size one that Apple made, it would have been like $80.
I mean, that they can do it though, because people buy it for some reason.
I mean, and it may have even been a little bit faster than this, but I mean, this is still fine. Like, if you come home and you're just like, oh, there.
I know. I feel like that's such a first world problem though. Like, oh man, I came home and I'm too lazy to plug in my phone. I'm just gonna put it on a coaster.
Yeah, I guess, but it's a technological like advancement. It's
I
pretty
guess.
cool one.
I mean, but in that logic, I mean, why wouldn't they just put this on the market? I guess I don't know. Because like I feel like Apple has a lot of gadgets like that. Like, you don't need an Apple Watch. It's not like the most helpful thing on the planet, but like, it's cool.
Yeah.
And the same thing with AirPods, but like,
I think that Apple isn't a tech company that does stuff just to make it look cool, like to show off what they can do. I think they do stuff that is practical. I think that the Apple Watch isn't just something that they released to be like, oh, look at this cool thing we can do now. I think that they, like, making it, they had the idea of stuff that it could do, like all the fitness stuff that was already out with, like, Fitbit, plus the connection to your phone, like the ability to text and have all of your data, like all the important data that's on your phone, have it on your watch. And the reason I say that is because the same aspect of releasing something practical like the Apple Watch can also be said about the phone when they took away the headphone jack. Because without the headphone jack, like, having the headphone jack would be so much better than not having it. But Apple's trying to push forward in technology by saying, have Bluetooth headphones, because in the end it will make things easier.
I mean, that's true, but at the same time, I feel like they could have been a little less abrupt about that whole change.
Well, to be fair, it's only on their two mainstream devices. It's not on, like, the ones that people use for a lot of different work. Like, people use their phone probably the most out of all the Apple products. But the headphone jack is gone, sure. And it just got dropped on the iPad. Like, I noticed on my iPad, the newest one that came out, it has double grill speakers on both sides now, so they had to get rid of the headphone jack. But, like, on the MacBook, it still has a headphone jack.
I mean, but my argument to that is, like, Bluetooth, don't get me wrong, it's better than having a headphone jack, but at the same time, there are pros and cons to that whole situation. Like, Bluetooth does run out of battery, which does suck if you're, like, in the middle of something and you don't have the ability to listen to anything anymore. I mean, headphone jacks just don't do that, which is why my headphones do both. They're both Bluetooth and they have a headphone jack.
Which is the answer to that problem. And I think, like, well, because whenever you have the technological advancement, like, you're going to have, like, for the first 5 years, you're going to have, like, that sort of problem where it's like, oh, we're not ready for it. Like, you have to adapt to it.
I mean, I guess, but, like, I don't know. It's just, to me, I don't see the point. And, like, that's... To me, it's not necessarily a step forward. It's just, like, a step. Because it's not doing anything helpful. Them not having having a headphone jack is not worth it to me, personally.
Well, there's a lot of pros to having a headphone jack. I mean, not having a headphone jack. Because with, like, having Bluetooth headphones is a lot more useful to you than not having them. Like, if you had wired headphones, like, there are problems that lie in that you can get rid of with wireless. And the only problem with wireless right now is a battery life. But both the AirPods and a couple other products, like my workout headphones, the Jabra Elite 65Ts, those both have the wireless cases, which give you like 15 hours worth of charge plugging them in. Like, the AirPods can last, I don't know, like, probably a day's worth just going back and forth inside and out of the case. Like, if you put them in for 15 minutes inside the case, if they're at 0, after 15 minutes they'll be back up to full. And that I think that gives you between 3 and 6 hours. So that's pretty good in terms of time management. So, I don't know. I think that in the long run, like, if everybody gets used to not having a headphone jack, which it is not...
I don't think they will, just because other phone companies aren't doing that, to my knowledge.
Well, I don't know. I don't know, besides Apple, which phones don't. I think the Google Pixel doesn't. I'll look that up. I've always wanted to switch phones.
Oh, that's a topic, though. The Google Pixel, dude.
Yeah,
I want that phone. It's cool.
The Google Pixel is pretty cool. And it has the best camera on the market, I think.
Like, if everybody I knew didn't have an iPhone, I would definitely want a Google Pixel.
Yeah, I mean, the Google Pixel looks really cool. I mean,
it's really good. I mean, and it's so in tune with Google, which is something everyone could need. Like,
I think you're a Google fanboy. As much as I'm a Apple fan. Well, I don't even know if I can say that. I have Apple products, but that's it started out as not my decision, and then as it went on, I liked Apple because I already was integrated.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say I am just because I don't know that much about the Google Pixel. I just really want one because it's awesome.
So there is not on the Google Pixel 3. There is not a headphone jack.
So
because look, they have the dongle here, and that was the other thing. It was either Apple's getting rid of the Apple dongle that comes in the box, the one that would take your wired headphones and turn them into the charging port, or they're taking away the headphones that came with it. One of the two.
Okay. I mean, I think that is a decision they could make in the future. I wouldn't make that decision anytime soon, though.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that's two jumps too far.
Yeah.
Like getting rid of wired headphones and the headphones that they'll give with it. And I don't know, looking at this box, because we're looking at an open box of the Google Pixel 3, this is like all kind of cool stuff. I like this charger and this kind of adapter right here, and these headphones look nice. Like these look like headphones you would buy outside of the phone itself. I mean, I think that Apple's biggest competitor used to be the Samsung line, but I think right now it might be the Google line.
I mean, but like, how far are they behind or ahead, really? I mean, because honestly, I remember they had an ad campaign a long time ago that was like, if you don't have an iPhone, you just don't have an iPhone. And I mean, that's really true in a lot of ways, because iPhones have a lot of compatibility with each other that doesn't cross over to other phones.
What do you mean if you don't have an iPhone, you don't have an iPhone?
Like, it was their ad campaign a few years back, I think, and it was because iPhone had a lot of exclusives, and they still do, obviously.
Like, if you don't have an iPhone, you're not as socially
you're not
accepted as the other ones?
Yeah, you're not in with the whole media thing as much as people who have iPhones, because you just don't have an iPhone.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people don't have these kind of phones. It's either like the other smart lines. It's either you have an iPhone or you have like a really old phone.
Yes.
And that's just because like, and that could be an area thing. Like we're in a certain area where people just have more iPhones, but a lot of people have
Yeah,
iPhones.
I know.
Like iPhone is the leading carrier. And I was trying to look up the numbers. I'm going to look that up. But I think that the iPhone, I think the iPhone 10 sold like a bunch of units just the first year. Was that like it topped a record or something? But yeah, I'm gonna look this up. But what were you saying about the social stuff?
But yeah, it was I don't know, it was like, there's not a lot to say about it. It was just their ad campaign. It was like, hey, we have all these exclusive things, like it runs better, it's smoother, you can play games with, I think that was when they first came out with like the whole, you can text games to your friends and play over that kind of thing. But yeah, it was just, exclusive stuff.
Yeah, so in 2017, Apple sold 216 million iPhones.
That's a lot of iPhones.
Yeah, I mean, it's the leading... Like, Apple is the leading market for cell phones and that sort of thing. And I think it's just because Apple was the first to do it, and they made a name for themselves, because without the iPhone, I think it would have taken a company's more years to get to where Apple was in 2000. It came out in 2009, so probably 2008 is when it got developed. I think that like the other companies would have been like a couple more years until they got to that point, or at least like, because the iPhone, for what it was amazing. Like it was like no one had ever heard of that. I think it still would have taken them a couple more years to get to that point with any phone, and it may have even been behind the iPhone. But yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting, like, did you hear about the stuff that Apple's releasing in the next couple months?
Nope.
Okay, so last week, no, it was this week on Monday, like this past week on Monday, Apple did their it was like their showcase, and they announced a whole bunch of stuff, and basically nobody knew really what was coming out. Like they had an idea for one thing, but they didn't know exactly what was coming out because the AirPods had just been released. They announced a new iPad, or like the iPad had just come out from a couple months before. They had already like announced a whole bunch of other stuff, whatever. But what Apple did release, like one thing that we knew for sure was that they were coming out with a streaming platform. That's what we knew. And they did announce it. It's called Apple TV Plus, because they already have the Apple TV and they ruined that name's sake. But they announced Apple TV Plus, which is a streaming service that we can get into in a second. They announced Apple News Plus, and they announced...
Wait, did they Apple Arcade?
Yes,
Oh,
Apple
man,
News
dude.
Plus. That's okay.
Apple
So there's four
Arcade.
things. There's the News Plus. There's the Apple TV Plus, Arcade, and
It was like a credit card, wasn't it?
yes, the Apple Card. That's what I was thinking of.
I watched someone in class while they were watching that whole announcement video.
Yeah, and it was great because the Apple Card. The Apple Card, I think, is the coolest one out of
It's gonna be made of titanium.
out of everything that got released.
I think.
Well, I don't know about all that, but the Apple the Apple stuff that just got released, I think is like really cool, but I think the card is the best. Which one do you want to dive into first?
Personally, TV, because I don't know anything about it.
Okay, so the Apple TV Plus is basically the announcement, like to go against all these other streaming networks, because
like all the streaming networks that are coming up,
that
like
are
the
about
Disney one,
that are about to happen.
Okay.
And we've been talking about this a lot, but I think it's also really interesting because it's like everyone's preparing for the next like 3 years because Disney's going to come out with theirs, and like I'm drawing a blank right now, but I know there are other companies that are coming out with their streaming services, and like CBS just came out with theirs, and they're doing great work with Star Trek Discovery. They've like re-engineered all of Star Trek because it did so well with Discovery. Like it's genuinely a good show, so they are writing 3 new Star Trek shows right now.
Isn't
to put
there
out.
that DC streaming service?
Yeah, that's the other one. There's
the
DC one.
I want to get that, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's like the CBS streaming service, which is basically pioneered by Discovery, and they're actually putting out new content that people are liking, like the revamp to the Twilight Zone, which is going to come out with Jordan Peele, and yeah, you said the DC streaming service, and the other one is the Apple one or the Disney one that's going to come out, and then now Apple's response is like, I think it's mainly to Disney, but the response is, hey, here's our turn at doing this.
So my question is, what are they going to stream exactly?
Well, that's kind of the thing. And I think it might be mostly originals like Netflix, but...
do they have originals lined up, or are they just going to wing it?
I don't know, because in the trailer for it, they showed shows that were both... shows that already existed and originals, and I think they're making shows, but I will we can watch this without sound so you can just look at what they were showing. But yeah, so they announced this. One of the things they did, Apple TV Plus, which they should have come up with a better name for it, because Apple TV Plus just...
What would you have called it, to be fair? It doesn't really have a better name.
Apple Watch. Oh wait, that's already taken. Shoot. Okay, so I don't know, but like we're looking right here. This is an original program, but this isn't. This is Aquaman. So and the morning show, but that's a movie. That's not the actual one. But I think that they're gonna dive into the fact that they already have like iTunes, and they're probably gonna get in contact with all these different companies and say, hey, we're like Apple. You already have your stuff on our platform. Do you want to like let us stream it? We'll pay you X amount of money, and then they'll stream it. And as I'm saying this, a cool idea that they could do is like have the Apple TV Plus, and then you watch the show, and it's like, hey, you've been watching the show. Why don't we give you a discount on iTunes to buy it? I think that would be kind of interesting if Apple did something like that, and that would actually put them ahead of other people.
Amazon.
Yeah, or like imagine watching a show on Apple TV Plus instead of Netflix, and they both have it. But after you get done watching like a season or whatever, like you rate it, it's got a good rating, and Apple's like, hey, we heard you liked this TV show, you watched a whole bunch of episodes, do you want to go ahead and buy it, like the season or like the next season that's going to be on TV, do you want to buy the season pass? We'll reduce the price because you already like it, we already know you want to watch it. Like that could put them ahead of other people.
If they do that, I don't think they will though.
Probably not, but I just thought of it, and I think it's a good. I think that's a cool marketing idea. But besides that, I just showed you all these, and I think that there are some of these that are originals and some of them that aren't. And so basically, they are going to be like Netflix and put out stuff like that.
That's bizarre to me. Like, I don't know how that's going to work. There's already so many people going into that.
Yeah, but I think that Apple, just like they always do, they have their driving force because of the name. So they're going to bring in a lot of people. And it's just like Disney. I think the 3 biggest, because Netflix is down. So I think that the 3 biggest that are going to be popular, like you had your first wave of them, like Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu. I think the next wave of content that's going to be put out is Apple TV Plus, Disney, and then the third one... Well, those 2 for sure are going to be in the next like wave of them going back and forth. Who's going to get your viewership? And there is a third one, but I can't imagine what it is. I mean, it may just be Netflix again, just because out of everyone, they're still going to be the top. But like Netflix is losing money right now. Like a lot of their stock is down and they're losing money. And I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast, and they were saying that it might be because places like YouTube, where stuff is all free, like if you think of it outside of money and making shows and whatever, like if you're thinking of it just as like, hey, you clicked on this, you're watching it as a viewer. It's more like YouTube's winning because it's free and you're going to spend hours watching their stuff like a podcast or like funny meme clips for an hour or whatever, versus Netflix when you watch whatever, like a TV show, 46 minutes.
Yeah, there's definitely a whole lot more commitment when you watch Netflix too, because when it's like, oh, it's a TV show, you should finish it, or like, oh, it's a movie. But with YouTube, it's definitely like a pop in for 15 minutes, watch a short video or 2 really short videos, or
Yeah.
it's a lot less stressful to watch YouTube, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and they were saying that on the podcast too. They were saying that, you know, there's a lot more opportunities to watch YouTube, which Netflix doesn't have. Like you can be like in a car and watch like a 3-minute video because you have a 3-minute drive time or something. And
Although the reverse of that is also true. Like Netflix has the whole downloading feature, and if you have a big car ride that you want to watch, like some TV show or a movie, you can download the movie and just use that for your entire car trip.
well, that's true. But if you're already into the YouTube thing so deep, you can always have YouTube Premium and do the exact same thing.
That's true, but honestly, in my personal preference, I would rather watch a TV show on the road than watch just... I would rather watch Netflix on the road than YouTube.
Okay. Lucas?
Yes.
I'm going to do something scary. You ready for this?
Okay.
I'll be right back. Do you think you can handle the podcast for 5 minutes while I'm gone?
No, but...
All right.
This is a bad idea.
All right, guys. Just pretend I'm texting like Lucas did the last time. I'm gonna be right back. Lucas, you got this.
This is a bad idea.
Talk about streaming. Talk about whatever you want, Lucas. This is all up to you, Lucas. We'll cut this out if we. I'm not gonna cut this out, but you do whatever you want. Just do whatever you want. I'll be right back. Don't worry about it. Talk about whatever you want, man. It's all you. It's your show. It's your show.
I
I'll be right back.
really hope he cuts this out. I don't know. Netflix, it has a lot more... It doesn't have a lot more options than YouTube, but I feel... Like, Netflix's options are also a lot more refined. Like, you know, on YouTube, there's just a whole lot of everything. Like, there's, as he said, there's meme clips and short videos and long videos, educational videos, and just everything. But not all of it's good, and really, it takes a long time to, like, discern what you want on YouTube. But on Netflix, I feel like it definitely has that edge of most of the things on Netflix are professionally made. And with that in mind, you're not worried about watching something on Netflix and it being bad because of poor quality or something like that. When you watch something on Netflix, it just has that higher level of quality. And I would assume it's the same for some of the other streaming services. I know it's the same for Amazon Prime because Amazon Prime specializes in like those old 2000 TV shows that everyone wants to watch, but like it's not on TV anymore and you only catch the reruns. They have all of those shows like Psych, Monk, and House that are just there to watch. And it's a higher quality than YouTube, so that might be another reason that I would prefer to watch those kinds of streaming services instead of YouTube on the road.
How'd you do?
I don't know.
Alright, hopefully that was entertaining.
It was something.
Had to run downstairs, do a quick jog, and I'm back.
Oh, I should have put like a secret message in there. Like Jackson sucks or something while you were editing this.
Well, I'm not going to listen to it anyway. I'm just going to make sure the audio's good, and I'll upload it, and that's it. I don't even watch them.
Oh.
Doesn't matter.
That's not good, Jackson.
I could say a whole bunch of personal information. I could say my school's name. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to edit it out.
That's not good, Jackson. That's bad. Most people would call that bad.
Anyway. Okay, so we talked about Apple TV. Let's move on, because the other ones are just as interesting. Okay, Apple... Let's do News Plus, like last, because that sucks. Comparatively to the other ones.
Let's just do, like, if it sucks, why does it suck? Just, like, real fast.
I don't know, because I don't know how they can make news, but I think it's like a text update instead. Like...
Well, that's interesting. That's a different way to do news.
No, like, what I'm saying is, like, Apple News, like, they're changing the way that they are showing the news, and I think... Let me see if they can, like, if I can find a trailer for it. I don't actually know anything about it that much. I would rather talk about the ones I know.
All right, let's move on.
Like Apple Card, that's interesting.
How is it different than Apple Pay is my question.
Because
like, is it just a physical card? Is that it? Is that the only difference?
No, because Apple Pay was a system where you put in your credit card information and then using like a ID system, you scan it or infrared. That's what I meant. you scan it to somebody's machine, and then they take that information, you've paid for it, right?
Yes.
With Apple Card, it's like it's their version of a credit card. So you're signing up for the Apple Card service.
And by looking at this, it keeps a really good track of everything you buy, which is
awesome. Because we're watching the trailer for Apple Card right now, so like that was one of the things about it, is that when you make a payment with Apple Card, because it's their credit card system, it automatically shows you the payment you've made and what it falls into, and then it's like, hey, did I purchase something, or is like my account stolen or something? So it shows you a map of where it was. So you can be like, oh, I was in that area, I just forgot. Like if it's coffee, it's in the morning, whatever. And what they're showing us right now is another feature that Apple Card has, where if the company that you're buying something from, like if it's Walmart, if you buy something and then it's like, hey, you bought this product, you automatically get 50 cents back or whatever, your credit card will automatically take that information, like, hey, he's supposed to get the 50 cents, and they'll put it on your credit card immediately. It's not like other credit cards, what they're supposedly saying, where you have to like wait a couple months for like different services to come through, like, hey, you get a payment upgrade or something. And the coolest part was that not only do you get the Apple Card on your phone, but they will send you an Apple Card, physical card.
That's what I heard about. It's like the physical Apple Card.
And that's really cool, because that means that Apple has made a credit card.
I'm actually more excited about this now that I know what it is. Like,
yeah, Apple has made a credit card, and it can work with Apple Pay, which means Apple Pay will probably become a more viable option, even more than it is now. You're already on your phone, so you can text them if you have any questions about your credit statements or anything. You can call them, because again, it's your phone. And then if you're in a place that doesn't have Apple Card, you can just take the card out of your wallet and be like, oh, here you go, scan it the normal way. Chip read, whatever. So here it is. And it looks amazing. It's so minimalist, and it has like no numbers or any information. It's just your name, the Apple symbol top left, and then the chip on the right. That's it. I think that the Apple Card is it's probably the coolest thing that I heard of, because Apple TV Plus doesn't interest me that much, because I already knew it was going to happen, whatever. But the other thing, the Apple Card really does. And I'm going to see if I can find this Apple News thing. Let me see. Oh yeah, here it is. Apple News Plus. We'll talk about Arcade last, but
I'm more excited about Arcade, to be honest, because I don't know what that is. I don't know what it could entail, but it sounds exciting.
Well, I don't.
So we already have the Apple News. Everybody has that news app. How is this different from that?
I have no idea. We're watching it right now, because I don't actually know. In fact, I'm just seeing. Oh, here they are. You know what I'll do? Here, I'll connect the AirPods, and then we can just listen, because then we don't have to like bombard the audio. We can actually find out. Here, wait, no, this one's on. Here you go. Okay, let's find out what this is, because they're gonna explain to us. Then we'll relay that back in what exactly this Apple stuff is. Because I think it has something to do with subscription services, because I don't know what they already could do to their Apple News that they have. I don't like Apple News the way it is right now.
Neither do I. I personally think it's kind of clunky.
And it feels like Apple has a lot of control of what you're looking at. Because you can't like search news articles. That's what I found was weird.
Yeah.
You can only look at what they show you.
I also don't like how they don't have interesting news to me either. Because the news that I picked, it was all I'm not really into the whole politics or anything like that. So I tried to pick things that were kind of, like video games or media or, something like that. But I still get those big headlines that everyone gets, like Trump did this today.
Mm-hmm. Which, to be fair, I would rather have that, but be able to search Fox News, read it, then search CNN News and read that, see what the differences are. But you can't even do that because Apple works on topics. So you search up Trump,
and you get one of those.
Yeah, and titles. Apple will just be like, oh, here's a Trump article that just popped up. Here's the notification, but you still can't find out exactly what you want to know.
Yeah, because you can't get all the sources. You only get the one that it gives you.
Anyway, so we're watching the trailer, and it just seems to me like magazines. Like they're basically trying to sell you new magazines. I think this is like what I said before. I think this is like a subscription service to Apple News that you can add on, and then it's like you pay for all of these different people that are going to be making news journalism stories. Yeah, like look at like, and there's already ones that are available. Rolling Stone, National Geographic.
I'm just seeing a lot of magazines. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
really
think-
seeing anything.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's all magazines, which I don't know. People are into that, I guess, and it is a central place, like Apple TV was for all of the streaming services. It's a central place to get all of your magazines, which is all right.
I guess, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't. I feel like magazines are kind of falling out for me personally because I don't understand why people get them.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's that's what it's for, but it's not in our demographic.
That's true. They are kind of an older generation thing, but like even for me, it feels like as soon as you get a magazine that's like, oh, the latest something or other, I feel like as soon as you get it, it's already out of date.
Kind of, but magazines are useful. But I'd rather read just like the factual news, not
That's true.
magazines and stuff. I don't know. There's not much else to say about Apple News because there's just
Because it's kind of.
it is kind of boring.
bland.
Yeah, it's kind of boring. So the last one
I'm excited for this.
is Apple Arcade. Now I'm going to play this one, and
I only know the name. I know nothing about it.
okay, so I'll explain as the video's playing. And in fact, well, I'm not going to mute it because we're already listening to it, but Apple, they're explaining it too, but Apple Arcade is basically Apple's they're trying to make video games for their products. So they're
like
trying
beyond apps.
yeah, beyond like such products that can't be contained in just one app. They need like the space that that a video game, a console game would have. So they're going to release this thing called Apple Arcade, which is much like, and by the way, I'm going to pause this for a second. Do you realize that all of these things are in defense of stuff that's coming out right now?
Yes, I
Like-
did notice that
like-
because it's like
Apple Card, because there's so many different credit cards
yeah,
and
it's
so
just
many
a
different
credit
things.
card, and then Apple
TV is to answer the biggest problem right now, which is streaming services.
and then this one is like for the PlayStation View.
No, well, yes, and Apple Arcade is a response to all these different streaming services, all these different video games that are saying, hey, if you pay X amount of dollars per month or year, you get all these different things. So like PS Plus, this is the answer to PS Plus. This is the answer to Nintendo Switch's online feature because you get well, that's stupid. I hate the Switch.
Yeah,
But
it's really cheap though. It's only like $20. I think it's like $20 a year.
I don't care. The Switch still sucks. Fight me on that one.
Okay,
but
we'll fight later.
The Apple Arcade is the answer to that. It's a bad answer, and I'll get into that in a second. But it's the answer to all these different things where you pay the money and then you get, like with the Switch, you get a bunch of classic games if you pay X amount of dollars per month. Eventually, you'll get an arcade system where you can play NES games and those type of games. But anyway, so that's what they're doing. They're trying to make you pay X amount of money per month, and you'll get a bunch of games for your
I don't
Apple
know.
devices because everyone already has Apple devices.
My big concern about this though is that like I saw someone playing it on they're playing it on their iPad, but the iPad is not a good controller.
Yeah, and that's the problem we've had with apps. And so Apple's trying to convince us that somehow this will be exactly different from apps and that it's so powerful that, you know, when you actually play it, it'll make more sense. Maybe they'll come out with a controller, but
I mean, if they came out with a controller, I'd be all game. Like, this would be really cool. But, like, that's my big concern right now is that they're just playing it on the iPad straight up, which is basically, one, just an app, and two, it's not fun.
I mean, I think you would be interested in this because this is the guy who made Final Fantasy.
I did just see that. My eyebrows went up.
I mean, this is the coolest part that I think. It has nothing to do with Apple Arcade. The guy who makes the Final Fantasies makes dioramas for everything.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really cool. So when he makes his universes, they're sets that he just has. But what I think is, this is probably the coolest game that they showcased. They're gonna film these sets and then just add their video game characters in later, and they're actually have the sets already. And you could just add your like 3D layers, and so when they walk in that 3D direction, they're going down like the bridge or whatever
I mean,
it is.
like I said, the games look cool. It looks like it could be cool, but I'm just worried about the control.
Well, Apple has to win you over, which is the whole point of all of this.
Like, if they were like, next month, they were like, oh, for the Apple Arcade, we're releasing an Apple controller, I'd be like, okay, like, I'll give it a shot, but
I don't think Apple... Okay, I think that like before we talk about like which ones will actually make it, I think that Apple Arcade will not do very well unless there are some games that people already know about on it. Because like there are a bunch of new games.
Well, there is that Final Fantasy thing.
Yeah, I think that it's weird because Final Fantasy and Apple has had this weird relationship ever since they had a Final Fantasy app, and I don't remember what the game was, but they had this weird thing where Apple got Ariana Grande to voice a character or like sing or something for Final Fantasy, and ever since then they've had this like weird relationship where
I'm gonna need to see that.
They've just been helping each other out. So.
I mean, just looking at this, the games look fun, but like I know they wouldn't be.
Yeah, well, yeah, because we haven't seen it in anything. Anyway, we've watched all of these, so actually we haven't. I'll just play this one without audio because this is just showing off the card again. But with all of these, which one do you think is going to be the strongest contender?
Oh, definitely the card.
Yeah, the card for sure.
Are you kidding? Like that, like it's practical, it's useful. Like there's no one. And I feel like if you have an iPhone, that would just be your credit card of choice, just because it keeps track of everything for you,
and
which
it also
is really nice.
Yeah, and they were saying like obviously this is one of those credit card schemes kind of where it's like, oh, there's not many down payments for this card or whatever, but
well, yeah, but that's on every credit card. Like what makes this credit card special is that like it's mostly automatic. At least that's what it seems like to me.
Yeah. And I mean, the card just looks nice. It looks like they put a lot of effort into making a good credit card.
I love. I mean, it's just a blank card, and you said they put effort into it.
Well, like we just watched them make like the laser edges into it and stuff. Like it just like that looks. It looks like they put time and effort into this.
It looks clean. It does not look like they put time and effort into it. At least to me.
In designing the card, I think it looks cool.
In designing the card, it looks like they're like, oh, we got the Apple card. Let's put an apple in the corner, and then that was it.
Okay, the apple in the corner doesn't look that nice, but I mean, like it's gonna be a nice like metal card. Like that's so cool.
But I mean, I think Amazon actually has a card just like that. It's like an Amazon Prime card. It's like a nice steel card.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised more people don't have these kind of cards where they give you a bonus on something that you do every day, like use Apple products or whatever. It's a good integration. But I think that Apple Card takes the #1 spot for most interesting. Interesting and what will actually end up working in the future. I think number 2 is the Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, I feel like that might but to me it still doesn't have that much because there's just so much other stuff that'll clutter the.
Oh, it's gonna take a while, but if they market it correctly and they have some really cool stuff like the Aquaman, like seeing the Aquaman movie in the trailer indicates that they're gonna have a lot of like movies that are new and appeal to a lot of audiences and a lot of like younger audiences so that would encourage them to go on Apple TV Plus. So that's cool. The fact that maybe, but it's,
to be honest, I'm not super excited for Apple Arcade, but I'm more excited for Apple Arcade than Apple TV.
Why?
Just because like I said, the games look promising. They don't look bad. They look like they put a lot of time and energy into it. The only thing I'm worried about is playing it on an iPad.
Well, yeah. I mean, it might be more interesting to play the games if they have some really good developers and writers.
Also, if they like for once actually like know that they're using an iPad and like implement all of the capabilities of an iPad into their game.
Yeah, and like only an iPad, because Apple Arcade is going to be like mostly originals. Like like the stuff that's on Apple Arcade will probably not be released anywhere else. So knowing that it's just going to be for the iPad will make it a lot easier to make that just for the iPad. And I still do think that more people will go to TV, though, to watch the programs.
Yeah.
And so I think that Apple TV gets the next spot, and then I think you just convinced me that Apple Arcade will probably get number 3 on the list of things that will get popular, and News Plus I don't think will make it.
News Plus is just bizarre.
I don't know why News Plus was such a big deal to Apple, but...
Like, it looks like it's just magazines, and it doesn't look like it's worth it.
I mean, Apple News Plus was like if you think about it, Apple TV originally was a place where you could go to all these different streaming services and put it in one app. So you could click on the Netflix show, watch it, click on the Amazon Prime show, watch it, whatever. It's the same thing for News Plus, where you can click on a magazine from any place, read it, and then click on another one. And then like that means that eventually there's going to be like a step up where Apple's going to employ writers to write their own stuff. See, what they need to get on, because I think that people are slowly starting to realize, is that podcasting is becoming such a big deal again. So I think that Apple may come out with like like they already have Apple Podcasts, which is like the reason everything's so popular, but they could start making more ground in the podcast world. Like even if they start just hiring entertainment and personalities to make their own shows and stuff. But yeah, that's that stuff.
Yeah, we spend like most of the podcast talking about that
because I think it's really interesting.
I definitely didn't know about any of this stuff beforehand, but I don't know. I'm interested to see what'll happen.
And I think that the only way like something would have been more interesting is if they announced like the phone or something. And yeah, I think that's it. The phone, like, because we can probably talk about Apple stuff again, like in the fall, whenever
everything's out.
Yeah, the iPhone 11 or whatever comes out. But I guess that's it for that. Do you have anything else to say about this or anything? Because we're almost to the end, but we're not there yet.
I feel like we covered everything about Apple, so we're good on that.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna go back to looking at the Google Pixel 3. So, yep,
beautiful.
It's a good phone. Yeah, I like how we started this with a completely different phone, and Apple still enticed us enough to talk about Apple stuff for 30 minutes.
I will challenge you on that and say it's because they just came out with new stuff. Like, that's why we wanted to talk about it, not necessarily because the Google Pixel is boring or other phones are boring. Although, I don't know, it's weird because if you think about it, the other phones have a lot of stuff that iPhones can't do. Like, they have pens that come with the phone, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And something else, I'm sure, but I don't know.
Well,
it's just weird to think that Apple has enticed people so much and, like, saturated the market to a point to where it's like you feel like you should have an iPhone if you don't.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I want a Google Pixel, but I'm so integrated already that having a Pixel
and that's
would
another
throw
good point.
everything
Like
off.
that's a good point. Like you already have all this stuff.
Like I have the watch and AirPods.
It's so easy to connect all your Apple stuff together that why would you ever want to get anything else?
Like, example. Number one, first and foremost, and by the way, that's Apple's whole idea, is that they do these things and then they do it on purpose, so that way you can't get out of the loop. Like, you have the AirPods, which work with every Apple product and nothing else very easily. Like, it'll connect, but it won't be.
But it doesn't do any of the special stuff, like pause and turn up.
Siri and whatever.
Turn up, I don't know.
Turn up?
Does it turn up?
Yeah, it probably does turn. Well, you can probably turn up with other devices, too.
But, like, does it turn up on the actual AirPod?
I don't know. Anyway. Well, yeah, so you have, like, the AirPods, and you know how easy it is, like, to do the AirPods if you want to activate Siri. You have your watch if you're wearing it, and you can pause and skip forward because that displays on here. And then, like, that's cool for just your phone, like if you're out and about and doing whatever. But if you have, like, your MacBook and a phone, like, I've learned more and more. I was in chemistry. I've been...
You know, because what else are you going to do in that class?
Yeah. Use your MacBook and not do anything until it's time to turn in something. But a lot of this, because for some dumb reason we have the chemistry textbooks online.
Yeah, that's a struggle.
A lot of the stuff is like draw electron dot configurations, but you can't because
it's online.
Yeah, everything you turn in is on a Google Docs, so you can't draw it. So I've just been drawing stuff, taking pictures of it with my phone, and then the cool part is that I can just send it to my MacBook. My MacBook has the picture from my phone, and then I open up a Google tab or Google Docs tab, and I drop the picture in, and then that's it. I don't have to worry about it.
That's really nice. That I actually, when I was in chemistry, I just drew everything. I didn't bother with the whole Google Doc thing. All my assignments are in my journal.
Well, here's the difference. People are more angry about my class than they were with yours, so we can't get away with that.
There was only like 7 of us though, so
Well, yeah, but there's like 8 of us, so...
Well, I mean, my class was like... I don't know, it was Liam, me, Trinity, Spencer...
You can't drop... Hey, do you remember what Drexel said? If you drop names, we gotta pay these people. I can't...
Cut out that entire section.
Hey, I'm not cutting out names, but I'm just saying, as long as you don't say their last names, we're not, like, obliged to spiel secrets. Yep, that makes sense.
But yeah, case in point,
I don't want to
my
pay these
class.
people, is what I'm saying. Anyway.
My class was, it was one smaller, and two, I feel like the way it was set up, we were just a lot less likely to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, not for us, but I'm not going to say names, but Drexel was not in the class. That's the only name I'm going to say because, yeah.
Drexel was in our class.
Drexel was in your class, that's correct.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel bad because I told him that he could come on this one, and he was going to do it, and then I just never contacted him again. So maybe next week he can come on. And what saddens me a little bit is that we just filled an hour, and we can cut in a second, but I wanted to talk about all this college stuff back there on this whiteboard, and
I mean, we can go over an hour. We're probably gonna have to cut out like a few minutes. So
why? What do we need to cut out, Lucas?
names.
Names? Am I really gonna cut out names? You think they care?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who did you name drop? You name dropped
My
Trinity.
whole class.
Trinity's the only one I remember.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't care enough to draw. I don't care enough to cut it out. I mean, this is gonna come out.
I mean,
Sunday.
hey man, it's on you. You're the one who edits this stuff.
They can be mad at me. I didn't say their last names.
Well, yeah, we don't say last names here.
We don't say
We're
last
against,
names.
We are against all last names, actually.
Yeah, we don't. Well, we know ours. I've said ours.
Well,
I think.
yeah, we're hosts though.
Yeah, we're the host. If Drexel comes on, he can say his last name. I don't
If he
care.
wants to.
Yeah, if he wants to.
Doesn't have
Consent.
to.
Yeah, consent first before they can.
We
Come
live
on.
in 2019.
And-
Consent is everything.
And yeah, in my 2019, yeah, it is. Yeah, so we're watching To the Bone next time. We can talk about the colleges next time because we got into it. And I think after a week of not talking about it, we can be
And maybe
fresh
I'll
on the subject.
maybe I'll actually have something to say about colleges. 'Cause
Yeah,
I've been looking at a few.
Yeah, most of it was gonna be like me talking about all the stuff I was gonna
The
say.
grandiose palace of UCLA.
Yeah, that's a spoiler, but
No, it's a teaser.
yeah,
It's just like, hey, next time on.
hey, this is like episode 3, and you already are talking about teaser. Psh, we're on this, like we're doing well.
Dude, next time on the word pool, Jackson will talk about his dream school.
Yeah, next time we'll talk about my dream school. We might talk about To the Bone if we've seen it. And we may or may not have Drexel on. So all these talks about
But
Drexel,
will he have to watch the movie?
we'll figure it out. He won't want to watch it.
He won't. I guarantee you he won't. He'll be like, why?
So maybe we can just do like a quick 15 and then
Yeah.
after we'll figure this out later. Anyway,
Dude, look at those spikes.
I don't. Oh, that's because I keep doing this with the AirPod case.
That's not good. You shouldn't do that.
Anyway, okay, guys. Thanks for listening. And anything else?
No, I feel like we are accomplished for the most part.
All right. Thank you, sponsor of the day, Apple, and we will see you guys next time.
We weren't sponsored.